It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
Did you watch this game back? Did you watch it?
I watched it yesterday morning, actually. It was about everything I remembered. This was an ugly game.
Rough watch. I mean, not a rough. Well, it probably was a rough watch for you. For me, it was just ugly. Yeah, you're right, ugly.
Wait, I'm curious. Why do you say it was probably a rough watch for me?
Just because the game stunk. The only reason why it wasn't horrible for me is because I had some skin in the game. But yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't mind a good rock fight in a game 7.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
I actually would prefer a game 7 that resembles that, as opposed to something like I'd rather have a game that is in the 80s in a game 7, I think, than like the 130s.
That's fair. That's fair. And you know what I actually was thinking about while I was watching the game is because I was remembering my feeling in the moment.
Yeah.
You know how in 2016 the last 4 minutes was just whoever scores next probably wins?
Yeah.
It was like that the entire game. I felt like this game just because nobody could score. So a quick 4 or 5-0 run was we got this now.
That's what's really crazy about it, and we'll get into the game, but Boston goes up 13 in the third quarter. And you're there's no way the Lakers are coming back down 13.
Right.
Nowadays, in most games, it'd be you could make up a 13-point deficit in 2.5 minutes.
Yep.
But
without a doubt.
In this game, when the halftime score is 40-34, 13 points feels like 28 points.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Was this the most nerve-wracking game for you as a Kobe fan?
Yeah. Without a doubt. No question.
Because he doesn't have another game 7 in the finals. His only even 2000, that was pre your Kobe fandom.
Right.
So that game doesn't stick with you when you were 7 years old anyway.
Yeah, dude, he got beat by 40 to Boston.
In game 6 the year before, right?
Or
2 years before.
Yeah, 2 years, and you can't lose to Boston by 40 and lose game 7 at home to Boston too. You're Kobe. You need this. He needed that game. He did. He needed that game to be what he is now, obviously.
Right.
I think he was probably set if he didn't, but
we'll get into that. I wanna save that for the end because we're gonna talk about Kobe's legacy.
Yeah.
And how this game impacted it. In case we haven't made it clear, our game today, Game 7, 2010 NBA Finals, Boston Celtics at Los Angeles Lakers. But let's go back to 2008, which we're actually going prior to our last episode, which was the 2008 gold medal game. But 2008 NBA Finals, it's Boston, it's LA for the first time in 21 years, I believe. Celtics go into the year as kind of massive favorites in the East. No one has really bought into Cleveland, even though they just made the finals. Like you could buy into LeBron, but the rest of that roster, it was clear. The finals made it clear that that wasn't a team ready to compete for a championship. Detroit, they get beat in the Eastern Conference Finals in '07. No Ben Wallace there. All the the main core guys are getting a little older. And Boston puts together this big three in the offseason. They're the big favorites going into the year. In the West, it's a little different because going into that season, the Lakers don't have Powell.
Right. Yeah.
And we're
Oh, yeah.
coming on, it's on the heels of Kobe's trade request late in May in 2007. And going into the year, he's still in LA, but like there are questions. Is he going to be happy? What are the Lakers going to do to upgrade their roster? So I don't think it was necessarily like a foregone conclusion we were going to get the Lakers deep into the playoffs in '08.
Oh no. I mean, that was a massive turnaround in '08. I mean, like you mentioned, we already talked about his '07 season. He requested the trade. They don't do it, but he comes back. And yeah, they struggle. They end up getting pawed midway through the year, and obviously make a run. But to go back to the Celtics, that team, like I remember that being without a doubt like the storyline, the headline going into the year, and they
Yep.
jump up to like a crazy. I think they're 18-2 to start the year, and they're dominating, and it just seems like this team is without a doubt the favorites to win it all. And the Lakers, that was certainly not the case in '08. Now once they get Paul, it was like okay, they have a legit co-star, but I don't even think that once they got Paul, really, it was like, oh, slam dunk, they're gonna, be in the finals. I think there was still a lot for them to prove.
No, for sure. And they end up being the one seed in the West that year. They closed the season strong, but even like the standings that year in the West, it was really strange. I don't know if you remember. That was the year where like every team in the West that made the playoffs was between like 57 and 51 wins or something wild like that.
Oh
Like
wow.
it was changing. The standings were changing over the last week like crazy. So they're a couple games out of not even having home court in round one, but they get home court. They make it through the playoffs. They beat the defending champions, the Spurs, in the conference finals. And you go into the NBA finals, and the nostalgia's on overload. ESPN, ABC
Oh
gets to
yeah.
run all the Magic and Bird videos. You get to
Yep.
see Russell and Red Auerbach and Jerry West, and like they're playing all the hits. And now we get this next chapter, where 3 years prior it looked like a Lakers Celtics finals would have been like the furthest thing than what you could imagine.
Oh yeah.
Just the state of both of those teams, specifically right after the Lakers trade Shaq, Boston is just irrelevant for the middle part of the 2000s. And then they're here, and you got the league MVP, you have the big three, and it all felt right in the world of professional basketball for a minute there.
Yeah, and it also kind of felt like you had uh, kind of like this super team taking on the one giant force of Kobe.
And the dream matchup is set up.
Now, a new generation is ready to weave its legacy into this storied tapestry.
I grew up watching Boston and LA.
It's a classic rivalry. Kobe Bryant and the Lakers, the Celtics and their big three. A championship is at stake. Game one of the NBA Finals is next on ABC.
The Celtics were absolutely outstanding. The league fed into it. They loved it. I think they certainly wanted the LA Boston rivalry to come back around. And there was just a lot of different characters too. Like really, like Rondo, I thought grew his story within this series between the Lakers and the Celtics, and he kind of became his own star, and a lot of it started in '08 with that run, winning the finals, and then obviously in '09 too he takes a jump. But what's kind of stick to the '08 finals. Really, I know the big takeaway is the blowout Game 6. But the Lakers did have some chances in that series. It wasn't like the whole series was just, lopsided. It was a pretty evenly matched unit. Obviously, Kobe was the main star, and the Celtics had three. But Paul was really, at that point, maybe the second best option in the NBA for a second best option. Odom was solid. The Lakers' young role players that were horrible in Kobe's 81-point game were starting to come around.
Yeah.
They blew a 24-point lead in Game 4 of the '08 Finals. I thought we were going to win Game 1 until Paul Pierce came back from the wheelchair.
You mean after he shit his pants?
What did he do, for sure? Is that what he did?
Short. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go to my grave believing that.
Okay, so honestly, might have been the headiest play of the whole entire game. Because what do you do if you poop your pants and go into the basket? Faking an injury and getting wheeled off where your butt is covered seems to be a very smart move.
I'll give it to him. You're right. I mean, that beats the hell out of standing up and just having shit dropping down your leg. And they're wearing white too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was really the only option he had.
Oh man.
Yeah, that one was a killer. Game 4, obviously losing that big lead. But yeah, you look at that series. Boston wins Game 1 by 10. They win Game 2 by 6. The Lakers win Game 3 by 6. Boston wins Game 4 by 6. Lakers win Game 5 by 5. Up until that point, that's a pretty evenly matched series. I think Boston was the better team, especially at that time. I think the right team won, but to your point, you're right. You think about Game 6 and just the Lakers getting run out of the gym.
Yeah.
And Garnett doing as anything as possible, bullshit. And
you know what bothered me the most? Why did you dump Gatorade on a coach? We're not playing football. I've never even seen that before. Why did you do that? I was so
mad.
A
hazard.
I was so mad. It was 11 o'clock I think I might have had a final the next day. And I was just up so mad. And yeah, the Garnett thing and yeah.
Final exams during NBA Finals was just
yeah,
that's cruel.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I wasn't gonna study that much anyway, but
no, no, it wasn't about the studying. It was about I have to wake up the morning after a NBA Finals game and go and take a test that I don't want to take.
Yep, absolutely.
No, I wasn't saying oh man, less time to study.
No. But yeah, no, and then then the Olympics happens, and I think in the '08 finals, the Celtics bullied the Lakers a little bit. They weren't far, a superior team, but I do think that they were just more physical, and their defense was a lot sharper, and they were able to really, I felt like just Paw in '08 kept getting pushed off his block. And he just wasn't able to really be effective in the paint. Goes to the '08 Olympics. We talked about that bump that he gets. And then the Lakers in '09 come back, a much more complete team with a whole off season to build off of too, because we mentioned that was a mid-season trade where they got Gasol. So now with an off season, you had the Olympics. Kobe got to play with Bron. The Lakers really start to kind of hit their peak in the second go around with Kobe in '09. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean that is certainly their best regular season, and really, with the exception of the first title in 2000, that's the most wins they have in a regular season. At any point in Kobe's tenure as a Laker, they win 65. But I do think that there are two interesting what-ifs from that season. A, if Cleveland takes care of business against Orlando in the Eastern Conference Finals and gets there, we get the LeBron and Kobe finals that everyone wanted for years. And really, that would have been the perfect time for it, coming off the Olympics, where they're pitted as the two leaders of the team. They're the biggest stars. And to that point, LeBron, that's his best year. He wins the MVP. Cleveland wins 66 games. I think the Lakers probably win that series, even though Cleveland would have home court. And it pains me to say that because that's probably my favorite Cavs team of all time.
Baby.
Yeah, of course. I was at the Cavs game the other night, and I didn't have a good enough shot. I was gonna take a picture of the banner, his banner hanging up, his jersey, and send it to you. Anyway, the second big what if is, what if Kevin Garnett doesn't get hurt in the middle of that Celtics season? Because they're rampaging through the league through the first, I want to say, like 30 games. So they start the year 27-2 off of their championship season. It's the best start in franchise history and the best in league history through 29 games up until the 2015-16 Warriors. But then in February, KG gets hurt. He misses 14 games. They try to bring him back. He only plays 4. Then they rule him out for the season. They finish 62-20. Second best record in the East, but they lose to Orlando in 7 in the second round. So, the Lakers win that title over Orlando, but I think that there's probably still a sentiment in the anti-Kobe camp of like, oh, he didn't have to go through either of the two real best teams in the Eastern Conference. Orlando kind of felt like a little bit of a fluky representative for the East that year. Yeah. That team was a nightmare to deal with as a Cavs fan. Like, just Dwight Howard and 4 shooters around him was impossible for the Cavs to stop. That was a very good team, but it kind of felt like going into the 2010 season, we were going to get that LeBron-Kobe finals matchup, or maybe if the Celtics have something left and Garnett comes back healthy, we get Lakers and Celtics again. But then the Celtics have this like really weird season where they're barely above 500 over their last 50 games. They go into the playoffs looking like a shell of the team that they were in 2008, but then they upset the Cavs in round 2. They beat the Magic in 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we're right back here again with Celtics Lakers. And it kind of feels like this is the rubber match we were supposed to get in 09.
Yeah, I agree. I think 09, 08 was definitely like, let's get Celtics Lakers once, the trade happened. I think 09, I think you were right with the first one. I think that was the LeBron Kobe year. I think that was probably the year for it. And it's just really too bad it didn't happen. It's almost like impossible to believe it didn't happen. Just the fact that, Kobe goes to 7, LeBron's been to 10? Mm-hmm. 10. So 17 combined, and they didn't meet. That's crazy to think about. The 09 season, though, for Kobe, I do think was pretty vindicating in the fact that he finally wins a championship without Shaq. He also wins Finals MVP. I think he's second in MVP voting to LeBron. So he still had a very solid season. Um, and while that was going on, and the Celtics obviously had to battle through the Garnett injury, one thing that I do think happened in that year that kind of made 2010 turn out the way it did was Rondo turned into the Celtics' best player. In my opinion, I think in '09 is when he totally, became the Celtics' best player. And without him being the best player, I don't think that the Celts get there in 2010.
Yeah, they needed at that point the big three to become a big four. And, I think part of what made that Celtics team great was that on any given night, any one of those four guys could be Boston's best player.
Absolutely.
And the fact that Rondo had matured into that, really starting, he had a nice playoff run in '08, but really starting in that series against Chicago in 2009, that just amazing first round series against the Bulls. Derrick Rose is a rookie. Like, that's where it really takes off, I think. And then 2010 solidifies it.
Yeah.
Because in that series against Cleveland, he outplays LeBron. He's the best player in that series. He averages a 26 and 12.
Yeah, his numbers that series were like some of the. I'm gonna look some of these numbers up because they were. Go on.
I want to say he had like an 18 or 19 assist game in one of those games where they beat the Cavs. There was a stretch there from like '09 to 2013 where Rondo, some of the stat lines that Rondo was putting up were just like goofy.
Yeah, so I got him. So game one, the Cavs actually beat the Celtics by 8. Rondo has 27, 12, and 6. Game 2, the Celtics beat the Cavs. He has 13, 19. 13, 19, and 2. Game 3, Cavs beat the Celts. He has 18, 8, and 3. Game 4, my man comes up with a 29 point, 18 rebound, 13 assists, triple-double.
That's like Jokic numbers.
Yes. Yeah. Game 5, he has 16 and 7, and then Game 6, the closeout game, he has 21 and 12. He was dominant. And yeah, that carries over to, from 2009, and I think that all kind of starts when KG goes out. That year Rondo averaged 12 and 8 in 2009, but he was their whole offense. He dictated what they were going to do, and I think that was, the most important part of it.
Yeah, you talk about Rondo, you're speaking my language, because as a high school point guard who could not shoot and loved more than anything passing the ball, like he kind of played like my spirit animal, only I was not nearly as athletic or smart or talented as him. But he was always my favorite Celtic, and that's not a high bar to clear. But even in the very peak of LeBron versus the Celtics, I always loved Rondo. And I felt like I was always higher on Rondo than most were. Like, I remember, we're skipping ahead here, but in 2012, I used to rank the 50 best players in the league going into the next season. So I was ahead of the 2012-13 season. I was doing my player rankings for basically the body of work in the 2011-12 season. And I had Rondo as the 5th best player in the league.
He was really good.
And I was told by a number of people, you're way too high on him. But to your point, he was running that whole offense. That was all created by him.
Absolutely.
And he just had a knack, national TV Rondo or primetime Rondo. Like, he had a knack for whenever the lights were brightest, he was going to find a way to elevate his play. He is certainly the dynamic in 2010 that allows them to make that finals run. when KG and Pierce and Allen were all not what they were 2 years prior.
Right. So yeah, that's the East. Now the Lakers in 2010, I just felt like that was like maybe this championship, and this is just my opinion, but maybe this Celtics championship to Kobe is the sweetest because I just feel like it was the hardest. Felt like he
said
played.
that.
He felt like he just played through like a crap ton of injuries throughout the entire season. They had gone to 2 finals before that. He played in the Olympics. It's just a lot on your body, and for them to just grind their way through and find themselves in the finals again against this team, it must have been exhausting.
Yeah, because this is the team that is going to beat the hell out of you.
Yes.
And, you're right. He's put an absurd amount of miles on his body to this point. But, like, he kind of lucked out in the West playoffs of playing a Utah team that wasn't great defensively and wasn't going to really be physical with him. They beat the Suns in the conference finals, another team that isn't really going to put a lot of wear and tear on his body. But then you have Boston, who they're going to be sending doubles at you. They're going to be smacking at you, grabbing you. You're going to get hit every time you go to the basket. These games are going to resemble fucking rugby matches just as much as they do basketball. But you're right. In the post-game celebration after this one, he says it's by far the sweetest title that he's won for the reasons that you said. Like, it was the hardest path, and the opponent, beating the Celtics in a Game 7 in LA, that just means something to the narrative of your career more than beating Orlando in 5 does.
Absolutely. And what he did in Orlando was he did what he had to do. Right, I mean, he took care of business. He was clearly, the best player in the league. I felt like in 2009, that's what kind of solidified as I'm the best player in the league. Maybe for a very short period of time. 2010, although their path wasn't extremely hard, they still did have to beat like the Thunder, and honestly, was this might be the last go around. That's how I looked at it in the first round of like, we got by those guys and I think we're going to win it all this year. But this might be Kobe's best chance to win for the rest of his career.
Yeah. So for the record, I don't think I did a good job explaining it. It's not that they didn't have to beat good teams, but they weren't beating
physically.
It wasn't like he was dealing with Bruce Bowen just being a pest and giving him elbows during dead balls, like shit like that. They got to play a less physical brand of basketball up until that point. But you're right about that Thunder series, especially because they win 50 games that year. Durant has like fully arrived. I think he leads the league in scoring for the first time that season.
Yep.
And I went back yesterday and was doing some research because this was right around the time that I started my own blog. And I know that I was making like predictions on stuff. And I had Lakers over Thunder as my Western Conference Finals pick in 2011. Before the season started. So I was feeling the same exact thing you were at the time. Like, okay, the Thunder are the team that's next.
Yep. So that was definitely a scary first round. Just completely took care of business in the second round against the Jazz. This is maybe a bold take, but I'm gonna stay right here and stay with my chest.
Oh man. No hot takes, just fire conversation. Just throwing that right out the window.
The Sun series was Kobe's best series of all time. I that's probably me just being, 17 years old and living and dying by every single shot that he took and being in the moment. He just absolutely dominated that entire series. I mean, he averaged 34, but on over 50% shooting. I felt like he was getting other guys involved. It just felt like that was without a doubt. I mean, the shot that he hits over Grant Hill to basically end the series, it's absolutely amazing. It's a game in where the Suns are playing a great game and they just can't stop him, and there's nothing they can do. And it's bold. He's had a lot of great series, but that's mine where I think that's his best overall series as a player.
I'm not going to argue with you. I wouldn't expect anyone to argue with me about any LeBron-related take like that. So I'm not going to fight you on it. I mean, the numbers you threw out there, you're right in the moments. Sneaky good Suns team, too. Like, looking at that roster.
Yeah.
Amari, Nash, Jason Richardson, Grant Hill, Jared Dudley, Robin Lopez, Goran Dragic, Channing Frye, Barbosa. Like, that's a pretty solid team.
They tested them.
No, they did. I mean, they have the Artest put back in Game 5 to, that goes another way. That game goes to overtime. Phoenix steals it. Who the hell knows?
So now we're set up for the finals. We got the 2010 Rondo-led Celtics. They're not really more the big three, although I still think Pierce is probably right there. He kind of gets the ball at the end of the game. He's their closer, and he had a hell of a series too. But Rondo was kind of their engine against this LA team that had gotten over the hump. They won in 2009, but it felt like they were starting to fatigue a little bit, starting to wear down a little bit. They bring in Ron Artest this year. So in 2009, they win the championship with Trevor Ariza. But in 2009, they also play Houston in the playoffs, and Artest does an awesome job against Kobe. I think that kind of attracts the Lakers, and they go out and they actually get him for the 2010 run. Both teams get to the finals, and here we are for round 2.
One point on Artest real quick, and we'll talk more about him because he's excellent in Game 7. I went back and was doing a little research. So apparently Artest, before the 2009-10 season, he had narrowed his list of potential teams down to 3. The Lakers, who he chose. The Cavs, which would have been interesting, putting him with LeBron, and Shaq goes to Cleveland that year too. Not that he had much left in the tank, but it's interesting. The third one, when I read it, just made me laugh out loud. He was considering going to Detroit.
Oh, what?
Yeah. He said, his quote was, "That would make the biggest splash."
Yeah. It would.
You're right, Ron. You read the room.
It would. He's got some weird stories, though. I can't fully believe him. I feel like at one point he was talking about, like, when he knew he was, like, gonna go to the Lakers, and he was like, well, it was after Kobe lost to the Celtics, and I walked in the locker room, and Kobe was showering, and he was crying, and I said, this isn't gonna happen anymore, and I was like, I don't think that Ron Artest is just gonna walk into the Lakers locker room, but
that was 2 years before he went to LA.
Yeah, exactly.
And that game was in Boston. Was he just in Boston for that game? Yeah.
Yeah, but so I mean, what do we want to kind of hit on some of the first 6 games, or we hopping right into Game 7 here?
I mean, if there's anything you wanna go through, I'm good going through it.
We'll just kind of we'll bring you along here. So Game 1, Lakers win 102-89. I think overall the Lakers dominated this game on the glass, which would be, a big story throughout the series. And I think that it was a huge confidence builder that Gasol is going to be able to play and bang with the Celtics. Because really that was the narrative in '08, was they bullied him. And in this game, he really comes out and has a nice performance. Kobe goes for 37 and 6. But then Boston wins game 2. Series is tied 1-1. Believe Ray goes off for like 8 threes in this
Sets
game.
the finals record, 8 threes. Rondo has a triple-double. And they hold Kobe to 21.
Yep. So then they go to Boston, and the Lakers get a game. And then in game 4, Boston takes the win by 7. And this was the game that I think I was most mad at, because they couldn't...
Hold on, can I guess?
Go ahead.
Was it the Big Baby Davis game hurting your feelings because LSU beat Duke too?
Yep. And I feel like there was a point where he was drooling at the game.
It was when Nate Robinson was jumping on his back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find that video and put it in right here.
You don't understand the amount of curse words and the air punching that were going on. They couldn't stop him with the little pick and pop action 15-footers. He just kept drilling them. And
he killed teams with that for a few years there.
Oh my gosh.
He hit a game winner against Orlando the year before on that exact play.
Yep. There was no reason for him to be productive, and he was in that box.
He was like a solid role player there for 5 years.
Yeah, until he went to jail, I think. No, I honestly think that's what put an end to it.
Maybe the fact that he was eating like me.
Yeah.
He wasn't taking the best care of his body.
No.
That catches up with you at some point. I could vouch for it. Carrying around this weight at 33 is a lot different than at 23.
That's a fact. So the series is tied 2-2. And actually the Celtics win game 5, 92-86. And this, to me, got scary. Because Kobe had one of those games where he just couldn't miss. And I think he had 23 points in the third quarter. And LA wins those games. The Lakers, especially in the playoffs, when Kobe has a big game like that, they win. And Boston just found a way to answer, and it just felt like they might not be able to beat these guys. They couldn't beat them in '08. Kobe's going out and he's scoring 23 and a quarter, and you're still losing. Pierce had 27, Garnett had 18 and 10, and Rondo had 18 and 8. Kobe ended with 38, but the supporting cast was kind of nowhere to be found in that game.
Powell's the only other Laker in double figures scoring that game. It feels a little Tony Montana Kobe-esque.
Yes. Yep.
A little bit there, because it's goddamn, we're right back in the days where we're starting Chris Mim and Kwame Brown together and getting nothing from any of our supporting cast.
Yeah.
So then they go back to LA for game 6. And the Lakers win convincingly. They win by 22. But what every Celtics fan will point to here is this is the game when Kendrick Perkins gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you said something interesting to me during our planning meeting. You said that you thought Kendrick Perkins not playing in game 7 cost Boston the title.
I do.
Do you really think it's that simple? If he's playing, the Celtics win and Kobe doesn't get ring number 5?
I don't think it's that simple in the sense that, okay, well, if he doesn't get hurt, Kobe might, and he plays, maybe they have a better shooting game or whatever. But no, I think that he's a huge impact player in this series. And, the team who had more rebounds, the team who won the rebounding battle, won every game.
Yeah.
and he was their anchor. He was their physicality. He was their youth. I mean, really, they had Garnett, my man Sheed, still around. I feel like
How did we get another Sheed game?
Yeah, it was productive.
Even good minutes. Yeah.
But, Kendrick was, at that time, he was, an athletic, physical big. And, they needed to win the rebounding matchup. And I think that if he's in, I think that they probably do. And unfortunately, I do. I think the Celtics probably win. Crazy to think, though, like, looking back on it, what is it, almost 20 years later, like, wow, it's because Kendrick Perkins wasn't playing. It's like, well, no, probably not. But that's my honest analysis on that.
It's just interesting to me because, like, you are one of them, but I have a lot of Kobe fans in my life. I don't think I've ever heard a Kobe or a Lakers fan say that. You typically hear that from either the anti-Kobe crowd or a Celtics fan. I mean, it certainly hurts their chances to win Game 7. I don't know. I don't know that I would put it as definitively as you do, just because, like, there were 3 other games in the series when the Lakers out-rebounded Boston.
Yep.
With Perkins playing. So, like, but man, he would have been right in his element in this game because just banging bodies, very little offensive production. Like, that is a game built for Kendrick Perkins, or Kendrick Perkins is built for a game like that.
I mean, he did average that year 10-8. So, I mean, he was a productive player.
For sure.
Point. And I think people think of him with, like, OKC. Again, that was him after the knee injury. I'm not a huge Perk guy, so I'm not trying to, I'm not getting up here and trying to say Perk was legit or, a great player, but he was impactful at that point. But no, it's not a guarantee for sure, but that's what I was feeling in the moment of, like, oh, we kind of, got lucky there a little bit.
I think Jeff Van Gundy, who was on the call with Mike Breen and Mark Jackson, put it perfectly late in the third quarter when he said, this is a quote, "This is one of the most poorly played games you'll ever see from an offensive standpoint, and one of the hardest competing defenses at both ends that you'll ever see. And whoever wins isn't going to worry about how it's judged. It'll just be a championship."
That's perfect.
Van Gundy hit it right on the head. Like, that is the exact perfect way to describe this game to someone who hasn't watched it.
Yeah, and that's where, like, taking just a brief step back from this game, that's where I actually really enjoy Van Gundy as an announcer, both actually Van Gundys, is they have a way of, like, they're honest, and they'll tell the story and what they saw, but they don't aim it to have a negative impact on the game. They're just telling the story, but they're also telling the beauty in it too, and they give flowers when they're deserved. So yes, I totally agree. It was a horrible offensive game, but it was one of the hardest played games I think I have watched. The way I have it in my notes is it felt like a high school basketball game where you're playing against your rival. And you're so amped up, and you're playing so damn hard, and you're diving all over the floor, and you're just going a million miles an hour, but you just can't put the ball in the basket. You're so energized and amped up that the offense just can't flow, and that's what this game felt like. It literally felt like I was watching a high school basketball game in a way.
And you add the Game 7 dynamic of it too, where it's not just a rivalry. It is literally you win, and you win the championship, or you lose in the most excruciating way possible.
Yep.
To your point, one thing I had in my notes, I think that this game might set the record of like number of guys on the floor, either after a collision or a loose ball. I mean, I said it before. It was like a rugby match disguised as an NBA game, and everyone seemed tight. Not only did everyone seem tight, the defense was just rock solid.
Unbelievable. No clean looks. Like that, they weren't missing
none.
shots. It wasn't like, you know, the Lakers or Kobe was getting good looks and he just wasn't making them, or it wasn't like, you know, Rondo was being forced to shoot a lot of jumpers and he just, you know, it wasn't any of that. It was amazing defense. It was watching this team for 6 games and having the perfect game plan. Like both teams had the perfect game plan against each other. They both executed their game plans extremely well. And you know, they took the trophy off the court. Maybe that also had something to do with it. I did notice that too. That this must have been the
Lost
year
its luster.
yeah, where they took the trophy off the court. But no, it's, you know, a dogfight right from the beginning. Like the first possession, there's like a loose ball from an offensive rebound, and it's like you said, it's like a rugby match. And the Lakers got off to, you know, a cold shooting start, but they were in the fight. They grabbed, I think, 5 offensive rebounds within like the first 3 minutes. And they were gonna stand, you know, toe to toe with KG in Boston, and they weren't backing down. And I think they did that in a way. I think they kind of, you know, quieted it away and backed off a little bit. Not in 2010.
Gasol, to me, might be the biggest winner coming out of this game. Because, like you said, in '08, he wasn't ready for the moment or the physicality that Boston was bringing in the finals. I don't know if Kobe running through that motherfucker's chest and, you know, battling Team USA for the gold medal, that it seems like that changed him in like a pretty profound way, because even in '09, he's going toe to toe with Dwight. Like he does not back down from that challenge. And then in 2010, it's like a fully formed Pau Gasol who has managed to completely rewrite what many people's criticism of him was before he came to LA.
Yeah.
He was looked at as the prototypical soft European big. And if you show anybody this game and they've never seen him play before, they would think the exact opposite of him, because he's just battling under the basket. And he ends up with 9 offensive rebounds in this game. There were probably like 5 more occasions where just his activity under the basket either drew a foul on Boston or he gets a hand on the ball. 2 guys having to box him out allows somebody else to get a rebound. I think given the stakes and the shooting numbers aren't great, this is probably the best Pau Gasol game you could find. It wasn't pretty,
No.
but he was gritty as hell, and he was the best big in this game.
Absolutely. And, you know, I do have to mention, like, I know that we talked about Kendrick Perkins getting hurt, but Bynum was hurt too. And Bynum was actually on his way to having a nice year, and then he hurt his knee for the 3rd straight year in a row, I think. And he played in this game, but he wasn't himself. And he didn't play a lot of minutes, which led to Gasol playing center a lot. And yeah, no, I mean, he was the Lakers' best player in the first quarter for sure, probably throughout the entire game. I think you could argue there was a couple of different people. Artest had a great game. We'll get into that.
We need to talk about Artest.
And Kobe, you know, Kobe still did his thing. But Gasol, you know, they ran a lot of their first quarter offense through Gasol at the low block. And Boston bottled Kobe up. I mean, in the first quarter, Kobe was 1 of 7. And he didn't get a clean look. A lot of those shots were, highly contested jumpers at the end of the shot clock. And they stayed in it because of Gasol.
Mm-hmm.
They end the quarter down 9, but if it wasn't for Gasol, it could have gotten away from him quick.
Yeah, I mean, they shoot 22% in the first quarter. And Boston shoots 59%. You look at those two things alone, and you think that lead is much higher than 9 points. But like I said before, 10 offensive rebounds in the first quarter alone for LA.
Yep.
They're getting second chance opportunities that Boston isn't. But yeah, I mean, you're right about Kobe. Their defensive scheme, Thibodeau was in his bag. Tibbs, this is the series that he goes to Chicago. You're really hanging your hat on as a Bulls fan. Like, man, look at what he did to Kobe. They didn't win that series, but what he did to Kobe in 2008, even in Game 7, holding him to 6 for 24 shooting, like, their defensive scheme was sound. Pierce, Allen, all the guys that they were sending at him. And Kobe, I mean, at that point, Kobe was kind of forcing the action a little bit.
Yeah.
And after the first quarter, coming into the second quarter, Mark Jackson says that he thinks it's the worst quarter he's ever seen Kobe play. I don't know that I'd go that far, just because I felt like he was impacting the game in other ways, and that would be a through line for this whole game. We'll get to that, but coming out of that,
worst shooting or offensive quarter, because he didn't do anything really offensively that was super productive. Again, a part of that is I have it in my notes, and I'm biased, but he goes to the basket at the 9-minute mark of the first quarter, and he literally gets tackled, and they don't call it. And I think Mark Jackson is like, I like when the refs allow him to play physical, but that was a foul.
Yeah.
So, and the refs did. They let both teams beat each other up around the basket. And when Kobe had the ball, they'd load up and they'd send him to the paint, and then they'd beat on him when he got there.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't able to really, get any clean mid-range jumpers off, which obviously we know that's where his, moneymaker is. Yeah, Tibbs, he really did his thing there.
It seemed like there was a point to, like, when Kobe puts the ball on the ground, that's when we're sending our help. Like, they're not letting him get into that 1 or 2 dribble pull-up going right. They were always sending somebody, it seemed like, in his direction just to get a second guy in his face.
Absolutely. So, yeah, Boston goes up 9 at the end of the quarter. Rondo does a nice job of getting their offense going. Second quarter starts. Kobe finally gets his first, clean look. And he scores the first basket of the quarter. And then with some offensive rebound and Ron Artest comes alive, they actually end up taking the lead. And this is really, in the second quarter, I feel like, is where Artest kind of asserts himself. And then he stays around for the entire game.
Yeah, when we did the Malice at the Palace episode, you said that your one big takeaway was there should have been much more in the career of Ron Artest than we got. Mm-hmm. There were obviously a lot of off-court issues. The Malice at the Palace happens, and that changes the trajectory of his career and that Pacers team. And, it submarines the whole thing when it looked like they were the best team in the league at that point in the season in 04-05. This game, to me, wipes all of that negativity away. Because he plays the exact kind of game that the Lakers needed him to play in a moment like this when they signed him in that offseason. This was a street fight.
Yeah.
And Artest felt perfectly at home in it.
Yep.
He had 5 steals, he had 5 rebounds, and he was another guy like Gasol who he impacted way more possessions than the 5 rebounds show. Because he was just always in the mix, and it seemed like he had a knack for making a big play every time LA needed it. And he gets 3 layups in this 11-0 run that gives LA a 25-23 lead. And he's into it at that point. It seems like Kobe might find a rhythm. He gets a shot to fall, good look. The Staples crowd is right back into it. And like they needed that. That was the first of a handful of times where Artest just came through. He rose to the occasion, and it's exactly what I think we wanted from him after watching the way he played in that Detroit game right up until the moment where he goes into the crowd.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. He was scoring in a lot of different ways. He was defending his butt off. I mean, the Lakers held the Celtics without a basket for almost 5 minutes to start the quarter. And at that point, Kobe still couldn't get anything clean. I know he got his first one to go, but like the Lakers overall were shooting 11 for 41. So they were still only shooting 28%. They were getting a lot of offensive rebounds, but really Artest was the only one who was playing offense with any sort of efficiency. Even Gasol really didn't shoot the ball well. He rebounded it well, and he scored clutch baskets late. But Artest actually was being efficient with his offense, and that is exactly what we saw when he was in Indiana. Is like, wow, he's a 3-level scorer. He could kind of do a lot. And you're right. They needed that as they took the lead.
So I got the numbers here. In the second quarter, Artest is 4 for 7 from the field. The rest of the Lakers are 3 for 15.
Yeah.
He scores 12 of their 20 points. So, like, it's his offense there, along with all the other little Ron Artest things, like getting under Paul Pierce's skin, which I really appreciated. He's their best player, I think, through the first half of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Rasheed Wallace actually still gets buckets at it's 50. I don't know, not that old.
Was he still wearing the Air Force Ones? They didn't even.
Oh yeah, no, he was.
Okay,
absolutely. But the Celtics actually go into half up 6. But you're 100% right. It's Artest that's pacing the Lakers. Kobe is 3 of 14 going into halftime. He's got 8.7 rebounds. Gasol is 3 of 12 going into half. But Artest has 12 points, like you said. And he kept him close. Gasol kept him close in the first quarter with his offensive rebounding and his activity on the glass. But then he picked up his second foul in the first. And then in the second quarter, it kind of was Artest's turn to take over and just keep it close while Kobe was going through this struggle. But I have to say, like, props to Kobe. He was impacting the game in other ways in the first half. And, you know, he held Allen to, I don't think I have it up right here.
I mean, for the game, Ray shot 3 for 14, I think.
Right. So, yeah, in the first half, he was 1 of 5.
Okay.
And that was Kobe's main priority. So, you know, it was a slugfest, and they both were kind of like just going all out on the defensive end, and they were going to win with defense. I think both teams kind of understood by the end of the second quarter, like, our offense just isn't going to come tonight. Like, we're going to have to win this by getting stops, getting rebounds, and limiting turnovers. And it made for a nail-biting second half. It still wasn't pretty. But yeah, we're in the third quarter now. Celts are up 6. And what I have in my notes is how Rondo was such a good quarterback of this team.
Yeah.
So he starts the half with getting KG and one, and then he hits a runner, and then I think he gets someone else a bucket, and the Celts go up 11, and he just was controlling everything at that point.
The whole Rondo experience was on display for like a 5-minute stretch there in the third quarter. Does anybody throw that high over the top entry pass better than Rondo?
No, from the top of the key too. Which
Right,
is a
right.
horrible angle.
Yep. And it was just a picture perfect pass every time.
Yep.
So he has that. He gets a defensive rebound in traffic that I have. That's like such a Rondo play where he just like slithers in between guys.
Yes.
He was so good at just like reading the direction of where the shot was going to go off the rim. Then he has a floater over D-Fish. And then another typical Rondo play, offensive rebound and putback. And I think that's what puts them up 13.
Yep.
Like 4 minutes into the third quarter. And that's the point that we were talking about earlier, where at that point, a 13-point lead felt so much bigger than 13 points in your ordinary game. Because it was, there were no easy buckets to be had. Everything was a grind. Kobe's 3 for 17 at that point. And I remember watching that game. I was at Grandma's house, and I was watching with notable Lakers fan Paul Clark, friend of the pod, cousin of the pod. And that whole day, I had been telling him I thought the Lakers were going to win. I was trying to reassure him. He was a nervous wreck, just like I'm sure, you and Chachi and Corey and Phil and Colin and every other Lakers fan in our orbit. But I remember at this point, it gets to 13, and I'm like, son of a bitch, I can't be reassuring anymore. Because it really didn't feel like the Lakers were gonna be able to claw their way back into this game.
So I got a funny story. So actually, at the time, my brother he's a on and off Lakers fan, but he was a Magic fan, and he liked the Magic.
That's right. I forgot he was.
So
yeah.
In 2009, quick story, just to kind of tell you how I'm watching this game and where I'm at right now in this moment. In 2009, I don't watch the finals with him, but he's home from college, so we're both in the same house. So he gets the living room with my family. I'm cool with it. I want to be downstairs by myself. So I watched the 2009 series by myself in my basement. And they win. So now in 2010, no one could watch games with me. Like, it's just, like, I have to watch these games by myself, to the point where in game 5, when he goes on that 23, quarter,
Yeah.
I watched that game in my friend's basement while his graduation party is going on, because I don't want to watch it with anybody else. So that's Matt Thompson's graduation party was that day, and I watched it in his basement by myself.
That's spectacular.
So it's game 7. I'm watching it in the basement by myself, and when they call the timeout up 13. I have like so much pent up like adrenaline, aggression. I set a treadmill up and I just start running. So no joke, I watch the rest of the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter running. I'm just running, watching the game, because I kind of want to feel like I'm in it. I want to help in some way, and I have too much emotion to just sit down. So I run. I set up the
Forrest
treadmill.
Gump.
Yeah, I
right.
set up the treadmill when they call this timeout, because at this point, the only thing on my mind was, don't let this become a blowout again. Like, please don't do this again. So yeah, that's where I was.
I can safely say that in all my years watching basketball, there's never been a time where I was compelled to run while watching a basketball game.
It's the weirdest thing. I shouldn't even have, that's so embarrassing to say.
Like, there are definitely times where I've watched a basketball game, and then when it ends immediately after I want to go and play basketball. But there's never been a point where I've watched a basketball game and been like, man, third quarter, I feel like I could get some cardio in here.
It's so weird. And like now, I'm gonna be honest. I hate I'm not nearly in shape. So now I just crank out some push-ups if I get to feel that way. But my wife will look at me sometimes and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, you want to feel like you're in it." I know, and it's like, yeah, I don't.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I really like that. You're that invested. You're like, I gotta get a lather going.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where that's why at this point in the game it just felt so heavy because 13 points felt like it was almost impossible to get back at this point. They come out of the timeout and Kobe gets to the line makes 2 free throws, and then he actually hits a pull-up jumper. And he pulls it to 10 with 7 minutes, he pulls it to 10 with 7 minutes left. And at that point, you start to try to, like, trick your mind and, like, okay, he's going to get rolling, right? Like, at some point, he's going to catch a heater. And it actually starts a mini run that forces the Celtics to actually call a timeout as the Lakers cut it to 6. But then Pierce hits a 3. And it goes back up 9. And it's the Celtics kept answering all of their runs. And it was so hard to score. It was just like a back and forth pace. And thankfully, the Lakers get it to 4, actually, to end the quarter off of basically offensive rebounds. Like, that's how they scored. And that's how they got it from 13 to 4. But that was a real trying time as a Lakers fan, for sure.
I can imagine. I mean, we're going to be getting to a Game 7 that
I
took
can't
a similar
wait.
toll on me. Oh, man.
I can't wait to hear it.
Before we get to the fourth quarter, I want to shout out Lamar Odom. We haven't said his name at all, I don't think, or very briefly you got to mention. Gave them really good minutes in the third quarter, I felt like. He had 6 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He was a +8 in 7 minutes. He wins 6th man of the year that year, but I think with Kobe and Powell and Artest especially playing so well in this game and hitting the big shot, which we'll get to, Odom kind of goes a little underappreciated just from this Lakers run. And maybe it's because he was there earlier. You know, Powell and Artest were kind of the 2 additions later on that really, helped fully form this team. But yeah, Odom, I just felt like he steadied things and he eased the blow of not having Bynum for more than 18 minutes in this game. Because he's big enough and he's long enough where he could be a presence on the glass as your small ball 4. He's 6'11". But he also gives you the ability of running the offense a little bit at the top of the key, getting the ball out of Kobe's hands. I always felt like he was just a really heady passer, just making the right play.
Yeah.
I just thought he steadied them, especially in that third quarter. I thought he deserved a little bit of a shout out.
Absolutely. No, I mean, he was solid for them for 3 years, really. I mean, and honestly, up until really he, the CP trade didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of when his career went downhill.
Spirals.
But no, he was super solid. I always kind of compare him to Ben Simmons.
Ooh.
I think Simmons probably is a little bit of a better passer. I actually think Lamar's a better scorer, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's a 6'11", capable defender, could run your offense, and he was solid. And he was a part of their big run. He had transition kick ahead for a layup that actually someone missed, and he had a putback.
Yep.
And he gave a lot of energy and just steadied them and didn't turn the ball over. He had one turnover the whole game. Just a real steady influence for their offense, and was able to guard KG and give Gasol a little bit of a break here and there. And also, like, his help side defense was really solid too.
Yeah.
So shout out to Lamar. Shout out to Chloe and Lamar. Great show. I don't know if you watched that or not, but
Did not.
I'm telling you, go back and watch it. Give it a rewatch.
I can promise you we're not going to cover that in an upcoming episode of NBA Campfire.
Fair enough. So we start the fourth quarter. What's the score? What would you assume an NBA score would be in the fourth quarter?
I mean, I know what the score is. I know that this is a halftime score.
53, would you? Like that? What?
That's a halftime score.
Yeah. And like a low-scoring halftime score, frankly.
Yeah, shit. I mean, you're only on pace for 114-106 with 57-53 at half, like that.
Right.
Yeah, going into the fourth quarter, 57-53.
Kobe has 13 points. He does have 11 rebounds, but he's starting the quarter 5 of 20 from the field. So.
And he starts the fourth quarter on the bench, which I did find that interesting. I mean, obviously you need to find some time to give him a little bit of a rest, but that's a lot of trust in those other guys, and they come through on the first possession of the fourth quarter. Pau gets an and one, and is really animated after it. I love like feisty Pau.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of him in this game. And just getting that bucket right out of the between quarter break, getting that and one. He misses the free throw, but a nice up and under move on Big Baby. There's another moment a couple minutes later in the fourth quarter where he gets another post touch and our test cuts and he gets a layup.
Yep.
And that finally draws the Lakers even. It's 61-61 at that point. And now it's like, okay, is it first to 70?
Yeah.
Wins this game? It really feels like that might end up being the case. And by the 6.5 minute mark, both teams are in the bonus. And it's just going to be an ugly but beautiful rock fight the rest of the way.
It's like in the last round of boxing when you're watching a heavyweight fight and they're just in the middle of the ring and you could tell they're both exhausted, but they're just going to go ahead and they're just going to swing as hard as they possibly can at each other. I mean, in guys that you don't see show that like physical exhaustion, like KG's hands were on his knees. He was huffing and puffing. There was times where Kobe just looked like he was exhausted and just trying to make it.
Aside from Kobe's last game against Utah, I think this was the most tired I've ever seen him look.
Yes.
In a basketball game.
Yes. Honestly, like the only one who really didn't look tired, there was two guys to me. And I'm not saying like Gasol didn't play tired, Kobe didn't play tired, they just looked tired. Rondo didn't look tired one single bit, and either did Ron Artest. And they actually both had probably the best games. The other guys were just so beat up and were worn down. But yeah, so we're at the point now where D Fish hits the big three, but then so Ray Allen hits a three, and then D Fish comes back to tie it.
That three that Fisher hit came damn close to hitting the rafters at Staples.
Yeah, and that was another Gasol post touch that he kicked to
that they get a good look out of.
Good look at. Yep. But yeah, that was super. The arc on that shot was incredible.
Yeah.
And I think he had to get it that high because I think it was almost blocked. There was a good contest.
Yeah, they got a good contest on it. For sure.
So he hits that big shot to tie it, and then Kobe comes down and hits a free throw to give the Lakers a lead. And then you finally get to see, like, okay, Kobe's got the right hand pull up, and he gets in his bag, and it's like that to me was the nail in the coffin, even though it wasn't. But it was like, he finally got to it. It was a huge shot. Like, I knew it.
That puts him up 68-64, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. And, that was the first time where it felt like, okay, LA got over that hump. They're going to, not cruise.
Right.
But I didn't think that, like, I thought that was the final nail in the coffin for Boston. It wasn't.
Right. You just anytime you could go up by more than one possession, it felt like, oh, this might be it.
You could breathe for a second there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with 5 minutes left, they take a 4-point lead. Now Kobe has 20 and 14. So he has been rebounding this whole time. And the last 5 minutes to me, I just remember like I was just holding my breath the entire time. I had stepped
As you were
off
running?
the treadmill. I had stepped off the treadmill. And I was just like standing, like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't talk. It was a very similar feel to how I felt in a situation where I was watching one of your players play, where it's just like whoever scores here is gonna win. I'm watching this right now, and it was kind of like a back and forth game, honestly, through that time period. For like the next 2 to 3 minutes, the Celtics really did a nice job of answering and hitting some big shots.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers have the lead that whole time. Once Kobe, like on Kobe's free throws, they take the lead, and they take the lead for good. But it does kind of feel like they're going punch for punch the final couple minutes of the game. And it was, like you said, there were a couple times where Boston would like cut it to 3. And just because it was one possession, you were like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Where if it was 4, like that one extra point is just like, oh man, we're good.
Yep.
But they just, it yo-yos there for a little bit from 3 to 6. So under 2 minutes to go, they get Pau a post touch. And Rashid almost pulls the chair out on him, but Gasol ends up getting a tough finish over Garnett.
Like double clutches.
Yeah, which they show the replay might have been an up and down.
Yeah.
Pretty close. But the Lakers go up 6. But then Rashid in his Air Force Ones hits an off-balance contested 3 right out of the timeout. It's 76-73 with about a minute to go. And then we get the crowning moment of Ron Artest's career.
That's a 3.
I will say, I don't know that it's my biggest takeaway of the game, but going into the game, you remember the shot. I didn't remember how well Artest played up until that point.
Right.
He really might have been their best player in this game. For the defense he was playing, the timely shots he hit. He was only 7 for 18 from the field, but it felt like he was just so much more efficient than anybody else that was taking shots for LA. Like Kobe and Pau were 12 for 40 combined in this game. But this shot, like, it is without question one of the biggest shots in NBA history. I mean, there are game winners that take precedent over this one.
Absolutely.
But just considering the spot and who he is and the two teams, and it's a game 7, and points are just hard to come by. For him in that moment to just step into that shot and after the game he is just overjoyed that Kobe passed him the ball. Just
Well,
one of
can
the
I stop you
ballsiest
there?
three-pointers that I think you'll see. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I think that's where, like, you're right. That's the shot that's, when you think Ron Artest, you think that. I can't help but think that the Olympics changed Kobe 110%, and I'm going to keep saying it because what did we see throughout this whole thing? What do we keep bringing up? How dominant and how aggressive and how emotional Paul Gasol was. Well, as story tells it, after the '08 Olympics, he goes to the first day of training camp, and Kobe's gold medal is at his locker. And Kobe said, "You got punked against Boston, and then we punked you this summer. Don't get punked again." And he didn't. And he built a relationship with Gasol. That wasn't just the last time that he was with, Gasol. Kobe actually really cared, and it seemed like he really wanted to grow a relationship with Pau. And he challenged him, but then he also was saying how, he couldn't have won the first championship without him. And he learned how to be a teammate. And a lot of that sounds, something that LeBron might do. And then we get to this game, and Kobe's off. And there's 1 minute left. And the Lakers are up 3. And if they score one more time, they're going to win, basically. And he has the ball. Kobe has the ball on the left wing. And he drives to the middle. And help comes. I'm not kidding. I think prior to the Olympics, he does a turnaround fadeaway jumper. But no. He's played with LeBron. What does LeBron do? What did he get criticized for? Well, he makes the right play, and that's what Kobe did. And I know that I'm probably just stuck on this narrative that the Olympics changed him, but it's just as I'm watching, that was the first thing that came into my mind when he passed it to him. When Kobe passed the ball to Artest, was there's no way he's doing that 2 years ago. He finally trusts, and he just is. That was my main takeaway, I think.
Well, I think you're right. And, it's a narrative that we keep coming back to, but that was by design. We put a lot of thought into what games we wanted to do, what the 25 that we were going to cover on this first season of NBA Campfire. And we realized that in that 07 to 2012 range, it's impossible to tell the story of LeBron and Kobe without mentioning the other. Mm-hmm. They were, at the time, constantly compared to each other. So we would be doing a disservice if we didn't continue to recognize the fact that having that guy in the opposite conference who is either the best or second best player in the world that you're looking over your shoulder at, but also learning from because of your experience in 2008 together. Like, it's a point that we have to continue to come back to because you're right. There was a degree of trust that Kobe had in his teammates in 2010 that he didn't prior to the summer of 2008. Not only a trust in game, but a trust in the process of building a relationship like that with Pau. Pau, to this day, calls Kobe his brother, and you could tell it's sincere. Mm-hmm. I don't think Kobe was ever going to let his guard down like that before 2008. There's no track record of it.
Right.
But he does with Pau. He does to an extent with Odom and Artest. And it empowers all of those guys in a way where they're playing with confidence because Kobe has their back and not with fear because Kobe is going to tear into them for not coming up in the moment. They needed the tough love, and Kobe stopped just being tough, and he actually turned it into tough love.
Yep, that was perfectly said. Yes,
Thank you.
he stopped being just tough, and yes, there was tough love there, which I think that pass, it just symbolizes it perfectly. And then obviously, shout outs to our test and his therapist for hitting that shot.
Also, he thanks the therapist, but I found it funny in typical Ron Artest fashion when he's talked to after the game. The first thing he says is, "First off, I want to thank everybody in my hood." His hood gets a shout out before the psychiatrist. I feel like that gets lost. I just want to make sure we're giving Ron Artest's hood the proper credit here.
I love that. But what I will say prior to the ending, I kind of forgot. I know it was, again, almost 20 years ago. But so Artest hits the three. And I remember, obviously, there was more to come. But I forgot that Rondo comes down and hits a three to answer.
Yeah, off offensive rebound.
Yep. Which then forces the Celtics to foul and send Sasha to the line. And that's where I remember just being like, if this guy misses it, I think Kobe might actually kill him. Like, I think when Sasha makes the free throw, he's not relieved that they're going to win. I think he's relieved that Kobe won't kill him in the locker room. He gives a nice fist pump after the first one, and it's like, okay, we got this.
He steps up to the line, and he did not
Nails
look,
him.
yeah, did not look fazed by the moment at all.
Nope. And then, the game ends by the Lakers getting a clutch stop. Gasol grabs the rebound, throws it to Odom, and then Lamar throws it down the court. And that's where Kobe's chasing down the loose ball. And I personally, and I'm clearly biased, I think if I ever won a championship, that's how I'd want it to end. Like me on a fast break, like chasing down a loose ball after it. It was like a literal movie. He was pointing, he had his finger up, he's chasing it. It was just a perfect ending.
There are two really iconic photos from the end of this game.
Mm-hmm.
The one where he's running after the ball and time's ticking away, the buzzer's about to go off. That one's iconic. But then I really feel like him on the scorer's table.
Yep.
With the confetti falling all around him. When you pull out and just see all the confetti, all the Lakers fans, like that to me is the shot that epitomizes Kobe. That's
Absolutely.
him. And, we could get into it now. We wanted to talk about Kobe's place in history. This to me is like the apex of his career. Maybe it's not the most explosive version of Kobe. It's not the most efficient version of Kobe, at least in this game, in this series. But this is him fully formed this ends his transition of whatever he was as a young player, the young maverick who drove Shaq and Phil out of LA, to the I will find a way to win at any cost version. I feel like this game and that moment, it really captures that. Like this is the best possible version of one of the 10 greatest players ever.
I would 100% agree. I think what I have in my notes here is I feel like this is about the time where he starts to become understood. And I feel like for the first, 15 years of his career, he was just really misunderstood as a player. I feel like people just saw him as a guy who was very selfish and wanted his numbers, and he just wanted to be the best. And you obviously get this hindsight, and you're hearing it from Kobe's point of view in a lot of these documentaries, but a lot of it in his younger ages was he wanted it so badly that he was upset that his teammates didn't want it like that, and that's why he acted that way. But then he started to mature, and you saw him struggle in this game. He shot 6 of 24, but he played his heart out. he was, rebounding at a crazy level. He was playing good defense. And he was doing whatever he needed to do to just win. He gave Gasol the ball with a minute left at the block to score. He kicked it to Artest to hit the three. He had Sasha shooting the free throws. Like, he just wanted to win. And I think when he was younger, he thought, I have to do it all on my own. And as he got older to this point, post-Olympics, he loses, one to the Celtics, and he beats Orlando, and now he's here. And you just get an understanding of, like, oh, this guy actually wasn't super selfish. He just wanted to win, and he would do whatever he needed to do to win. And maybe he just didn't have the right blueprint, and now he does. So I also think that the experience of seeing his relationship with Paul grow, and also you start to see his daughters with him all the time, and his wife is there, and his wife has stood by his side through it all. And he just seems like more of a human, and not just this psychopath who's just all about scoring a basketball.
Very well put. What I would add to that is we cover Kobe. We cover him in 2000, our very first episode of Campfire. And at that point, he's 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
We cover him again in 06, in his mid-20s. And we get him here, and he's about to turn 32. You're 32, I'm 33. I can safely say that the person I am at 33 is so much different than the person I was at 21,
Right,
or 26, or even 29, 30. Like, you grow so much just as a person, and you go through your first real hardships as an adult. And Kobe had plenty, personally and professionally. But you come out on the other side and you have a greater understanding of who you are, what you're capable of. You have a greater appreciation for the things that you have in your life. And I don't think just because Kobe is one of the most famous athletes ever, that doesn't mean that he goes through that same process too.
right.
He's still a young man when he's 31. But the life lessons he's learned in the 10 years since we started doing Campfire, when he won his first title, like, he's a fully formed adult at this point.
Yep.
So I think that that needs to be recognized. That plays a role in his ability to trust his teammates. Not just in the moment, but to foster those relationships and build that trust day after day. You gain the ability to do that, I think, because you get burnt.
Yeah.
You have your failures, but over time you surround yourself with the right people. And you said at this point he's a father of two young girls. He's just grown in so many different ways, and I think that Kobe Bryant becoming a different person allowed him to be the greatest possible version of himself as a basketball player.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly said. I honestly have here, he became a complete person,
Yep.
not just a basketball player. And I think legacy-wise, that is honestly where I think a lot of the Mamba mentality, and he was the Mamba before this, but that's where
Yeah.
the Mamba mentality, like trademark, became extremely popular. Because people didn't see him as, again, this selfish person. They just saw him as someone who works really hard, and is willing to sacrifice and do anything to win. And without all of what you just said, and what he showed America and the world, I don't think that brand or that way of life becomes as popular as it did. Because I think at that point is when it took off, and that became like a whole thing of itself. Like the
Well,
Mamba mentality came from this 2010, and it just blew up.
Yeah, I think that the 2010 finals is the culmination of that, where like it becomes a fully formed thing
Yeah,
at that
not
point.
even basketball related.
Right. You take it off the court.
Yep. And I don't think you get that unless there is this game. So, what does this game mean to him? I think it means a lot to him as a basketball player. I think as a basketball player, it probably at least ties him with Magic, with the best Laker ever. I mean, it literally ties them with the most champion. They have 5 championships for the Lakers. But I think he probably becomes the face of the franchise for their history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the fact that he beat the Celtics to be to get him to the 5th ring puts him over. But even more than the basketball player, I feel like this game specifically and just this last 3 years of his journey, it took his legacy up a whole notch, and it took his brand up to unthinkable charts. That's what I came away with. This was even more impactful than just his game. I think it was off the court. It was the way people look at him. That's what stuck out to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could make the argument that this win probably puts him on a tier with Jordan, Bird, and Magic, just in terms of their career means something to the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, he becomes one of the cornerstone personalities, and not really like a personality, but like, it's not just him the player, it's Kobe the brand.
Mm-hmm.
It is his entire journey. He's now on a level with those guys, and I think then if you're just looking at him historically as a basketball player, the weight of his career, I think that this championship puts him firmly in the top 10. I mean, really, by any way you slice it, like, at this point, he joins Kareem, Magic, Bird, Jordan, Shaq, and Duncan as the only players with 3 championships and 2 finals MVPs in their career.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, he is only the 4th player at that time who has back-to-back finals MVPs. LeBron and Durant would go on to join that group, but at that time, it's just Jordan, Hakeem, and Shaq. Mm-hmm. He concludes the 2010 season with 25,790 points, 12-time All-Star, 12-time All-NBA, 5 titles, 2 finals MVPs. So, like, this is already a top 10 of all-time career.
Yep.
And he has the benefit of his 5th ring, as he said after the game, and as you said, it is the sweetest of them all.
So damn hard. And honestly,
it was, man.
You know what I also think it is? And I just got done saying basically how much personal growth I feel like I saw in him. Still got a little bit of petty, and he shares it. And damn it, I'm kind of proud of him. At the end of the game, he realizes it's one more than Shaq, and he says it. And he says it in his press conference, and I think he's joking because he's laughing, and he's got his kids, and he's making a joke out of it. But it's also like, I was right. I told you guys the Lakers should choose me, not him. And you guys said I was wrong, and I was right, and I told you so. And I thought that was the icing on the cake for me when he said that.
And for what it's worth, Shaq he's a pretty petty guy too. I mean,
Well, yeah.
he's taken his shots at Kobe at this point, and he does go and sign with the Celtics just weeks after Kobe says this.
Yep.
Like, I was fine with it.
Yeah. And he
was fine
didn't
with it.
say it in like a malicious way.
No.
It was in joking manner, but I think that this game means something in terms of, that too, like the Shaq Kobe breakup. I think this officially won it for Kobe.
It
Kobe won.
legitimized that move. Yeah.
So overall, this game was huge for Kobe. I think that there's a lot of things that we talked about that tie in, and obviously the Olympics and his personal growth and his legacy. And I also think that, at this point is when a guy in the East starts to really think like, I can't just let him keep winning. I got to take control of my own legacy and my own career. And I think that this game maybe changes his career too, because I'm not sure. Does he do it? If Boston wins, if Boston wins the finals, does LeBron go to Miami? I don't know, but it feels...
See, I thought you were talking about Joe Johnson going to New Jersey. I lost there for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, LeBron.
But I, as a LeBron fan, I guess I'll turn it over to you. But I do have that question. Do you think like it was a for sure thing he was leaving, or do you think that the Lakers winning this championship kind of pushed him more towards that? Because it's like, look, I see what Kobe's doing. He's controlling his own legacy. Now I got to do it. Like, that's who I'm chasing right now.
I think that the fact that it was Kobe against the Celtics, because Boston beating him twice in the playoffs, I think had just as much to do with him going to Miami as anything else.
Right.
Because with the Celtics, even though it came together not because of player empowerment, but Garnett gets traded there, Ray Allen gets traded there, they have a big three. I think that him being unable to beat them basically on his own in 2008 and 2010, I think that has just as much to do with him going to Miami as Kobe winning a fifth ring. Now, I agree with you. I think that Kobe winning again and having, a top 20 player in Powell alongside him, having proven third and fourth guys like Artest and Odom alongside him, that definitely played a role. Right. But I think it was those two teams coming together again, where it is the two marquee franchises in the NBA. It's two of the biggest markets. And I think that he, at that point, just realized, I can't get anyone to come to Cleveland. They can't make the kind of trades that land me a bona fide number two like Powell or a guy like Kevin Garnett. Mm-hmm. I have to go and do this on my own. So, you might be able to look at it and say the seeds for this were planted in 2008 when LeBron, Wade, and Bosh were playing at the Olympics. Maybe they knew at that point, 2 full years ahead of time. But if he didn't know going into the playoffs that year in 2010, I think getting beat by Boston and watching Kobe win a championship, that was like a 50-50 split of I've got to take things into my own hands.
Yep. Well, we'll see how that works out for him in the league next episode. But until then, I can't wait, my man.
This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to do this Kobe game. I hope that all of the many Kobe fans who I was outnumbered by my entire life in our family, I hope they enjoy this episode, and I hope they come back next week. We got a fun one. LeBron, but not just LeBron. We got the whole 2010-11 season. We're going to do something a little different next week.
We'll light the fire one more time.
Let's do it. All right, take care, buddy.
See you later.
Very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.